Hi, I am Sabrina Scott, the president of the Five Spheres of Fit, and I'm here with Noel Scott, the founder. The Five Spheres is a lifestyle strategy that constantly evolves with you. The five spheres are the physical, the mental, the financial, the social, and the educational spheres. Noel, I recently self published a book called My Five Spheres. Super excited. And now I'm actually going to do a couple of author visits with schools. So I'm really excited about that because I'm excited to share this with children who I believe this will really resonate with them if we provide this tool for them. So I wanted to talk to you, from a young age. Tell me what you feel kids are balancing.
Well, Sabrina, I I have learned in the 10 years that I've had a daughter that the world is nothing like the world was when I was growing up. And I don't say that as the old man who laments about the past and or about the current and thinks about the past and what we went through and all that good stuff. But it's more to the point that I feel kids today are significantly more consumed with information.
Mhm.
And I say consumed because whether they want it or not, it's coming at them. And it's coming at them. And we've talked about this to no end from different sources, whether it's amongst their friends and family, whether it's from television, whether it's from the upteen number of streaming services that we utilize, whether it's from social media, popular magazines, books, whatever it is. They're just bombarded. And I don't know that the vast majority of them have a plan in place in which to organize that information and then be able to then evaluate it and then sort of make decisions on what they will then value
Right.
uh, for the information that's coming to them. So that's the big thing that I'm seeing. That's
So let me tell you, excuse me, let me tell you, from a young age, kids are balancing school, extracurricular activities, social circles, social media, part time jobs, hormones. Should I keep going? Because all of those things fall into the five spheres: the
right.
educational, financial, if they have a job, um, or need to want to buy something, maybe a car because they want to go do other things.
Mhm.
Social circles, already in elementary school, we're seeing this evolve. Social media, already in elementary school, kids are on social media. Hormones, already in elementary school. How are these kids able to juggle it all in this time? I was reading a lot about generational differences. You and I are both Gen Xers, and growing up, either we weren't discussing something or we were taught to not talk about certain things. Well,
Suppress
don't
it.
keep, yeah, suppress it. Exactly. It's not like that anymore. Gen Z, which are ages 11 to 26 today, they've been taught to talk about things. Let's talk about our mental challenges. Let's talk about our physical challenges. Let's talk about our social challenges. Social fitness is becoming such a big phrase now. So, how do we help these children navigate it all?
Sure, Brandon. I think that's the golden question. How do we help our kids be the best versions of themselves? And within that, I would define that as an individual who holistically has a real grounded sense of self within our five spheres: the physical, the mental, the financial, social, and educational. They so deeply understand it or are constantly evolving so that they can deeply understand what their needs are, and if they have wants in these areas, how to go about achieving or obtaining those things that they want to be successful in. You pose the question, how are we supposed to help the kids? And given all of the things that they're dealing with and all of these like hormones and whatnot, I think it's important for parents to recognize, and I know that we are doing this currently, um, that it isn't easy, just like it wasn't easy for us. And I said earlier, suppress. Oftentimes, as young people, we did suppress things because there weren't those outlets, there weren't those readily available resources like kids now today have. And it's so important that because those resources are readily available, if the kids aren't seeing them, we have to make them aware. And I think, Sabrina, that's where the 5 spheres comes in, because we're bringing all of this content, we're providing all of these resources so that people see that they're there. They are readily available. It's just if you're not looking for them because perhaps you're that parent who never had that yourself, you may not know where to look. So I think that will be the value of the 5 spheres, and helping these kids organize what they're seeing and dealing with by putting them into the 5 spheres. And then that way they can best evaluate what's happening and what's going on more holistically, and then problem solve with all of the information rather than these sort of one-off scenarios that they're being posed with in life.
I'm going to say it again. Repeat what you said. Organize, evaluate, and problem solve. Those are the three things. And the 5 spheres we've said from the beginning gives individuals a roadmap. We are not the expert in all the 5 spheres, but what we can do is provide a roadmap for individuals to organize, evaluate, and problem solve. And I'm repeating that over and over because it's important to understand. We have a newsletter now called The Roadmap. And in that newsletter, we provide resources for everyone on different aspects of each of your spheres. We also have a podcast, this one, and we're available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, because we're just trying to let people know it's so important to have a strategy in place. Can you give me an example? And I'm putting you on the spot. We did not plan for this. Give me an example of, say, a young teenager having a challenge in their life and how they can use the 5 spheres to organize, evaluate, and problem solve.
Sure. So let's take our own daughter, and I know she's not a teenager, but let's assume that if she was a teenager, she is now playing club soccer, and she is learning the game. She's learning how to think the game, and with all of that, Sabrina, comes the challenges of self confidence, their physical abilities, being able to learn the game of soccer, but also to implement what is being taught. And there's a physicality to that that's important to learn. As we see Naima developing in soccer, if we were to see her as a teenager going through some of these same things, but then also having the challenges of her educational sphere, being in high school, thinking about college, perhaps something into the future, and then, of course, financially preparing for those types of things or to buy certain things that she's looking for, putting her in a position to be able to take all of that stuff. Her hormones are all over the place because she's developing as a young woman, and all of these things. If we have a strategy or a platform in which to work off of, like the 5 spheres, Naima can then go and look at that, and she can journal. She can literally write down everything that she's dealing with, like any good therapist will tell you to do. The importance of journaling, the importance of getting it in front of you so you can best evaluate and also see if you're missing something. Now, sometimes we so go to these guideposts and say, oh, my mental health, oh, it's because I'm not getting enough time to decompress, when in fact decompression, as great as that is, may not actually be the solution to your
Yeah.
mental issue. Right. So we want to quickly say, oh, well, I know the answer. I can solve it this way. Getting it all down, evaluating it through the 5 spheres, recognizing that once you organize the things happening in your life into those 5 spheres, it becomes so much easier then to attack the issues, evaluate them for what they are, determine how big or how small they may
Right.
be in your life, and find the relevant resources at that point to then problem solve. And I think that for me would be a great example as watching a teenager kind of go through those steps, because these are critical times, because if they get overwhelmed by stress, anxiety, and things of that nature, I mean, we read the stories, the horror stories of what happens when kids fall into that area, and
Yeah.
perhaps they didn't have a platform in which to.
And we're not even, this example didn't even bring in the social sphere, which becomes
Yeah, it's
very
magnetic.
challenging for teenagers.
Yes.
And another thing, I don't know if you know, but Naima told me that she is not sure she wants to play soccer in middle school because she is so worried about the stress from or the workload that she's
Yeah.
going to receive from school. So right now already, she has anxiety in her mental sphere. She loves soccer. She loves playing, but she's worried, do I do that for my physical
Mm.
sphere? Because I feel like my educational sphere will become imbalanced. So
Right.
it's interesting you brought up the soccer because she's already anticipating,
Right.
a challenge, but that's where the 5 spheres comes in. Hey, let's put these in the spheres. Let's write them down so you can
Mhm.
visualize how you can organize and problem solve after
And
evaluating.
she's fortunate enough, and everything that you said is spot on. She is fortunate enough to now, at the ripe old age of 10, to be learning this strategy that we've put together and to start implementing it. And I think it's important for us to always stay with her in understanding how to utilize it. Young people oftentimes, the biggest issue that teachers have told me when I've worked in school settings is that the level of commitment that kids make to organization is really one of the determining factors of their success
Yeah.
through high school. And you remember when we were growing up, we would learn all of these study skills and how to organize our work so that we could give the appropriate amount of time to each subject and to make sure. And they called that study skills, right? Well, now we kind of have to bring that focus a little more holistically now because of what kids are seeing and what's coming to them so quickly. And we want to look at it more as like a life skills, a 5 spheres approach is ideal to kind of take that on because the 5 spheres covers everything that would happen in your life and is already organized in such a way that you can start putting them in to those spheres and then dealing with them as needed. And obviously, while we've talked at length about this, balance does not necessarily mean that 20% of my time is focused on physical sphere
Right.
and it's where you are in any given point. What we want people to
Mhm.
recognize and what we would want young people in particular to recognize is that you've got to create a balance that works for you. It's perfectly subjective. You could be a scientist or an athlete or something else, but you've got to find balance so that you're providing yourself the opportunity to understand the value of all of the spheres. It's not
Right.
just a lot of money. It's not just about making the soccer team or getting a good grade on a math test or what have you, or having lots of friends, or whatever the case may be. It's holistically looking at everything, and I think that's where Naima is really starting to understand that, so that she's not feeling so much anxiety. And I love that she brought it to our attention too, so that
Yeah.
we can help her address that.
Well, I read something. Let me get it was e-learning industry. It was an article on that website, e-learning industry, which says Gen Z learners embrace design thinking principles, emphasizing empathy, creativity, and problem solving. And that's something that I feel the generation before has a stereotype for not doing, which is
Right.
Gen Y. So, hopefully this resonates with a lot of them. I did want to tell you something funny. You said that teachers really emphasize the importance of organization. And I've told you the story. I've told Naima this. When I was in elementary school, I always had the cleanest desk, the most organized desk, but that's why I always got extra recess time and surprises from the teacher. Yep, that was
Yeah.
me.
I
So
mean,
maybe that's why I've embraced the 5 spheres so much. But I wanted to ask you one question. I've repeated this on several episodes that when I think of my 5 spheres, my roadmap, I think of it, as little bubbles that pop up, and then I could see the interplay between them. So I whether it's daily or every few days, I think, okay, how am I feeling physically? How am I feeling mentally? And it's like over my head. How do you envision your 5 spheres, or how do you chart it out? Do you do it mentally? Do you do it on paper? Do you use the app?
so
All the
subject.
above?
I do a combination of all three of those things. So when I'm on my phone, I will go to the 5 spheres app and I will journal. And sometimes I don't get specific, but I put down a note. And what I'm trying to do is when maybe I have more time to really consider it, just a buzzword that will bring me back to what I'm thinking about. Let's say in a financial sphere, hey, I want to look at purchasing additional, duplexes or triplexes or quadplexes, whatever. And so I'll just put, property purchase, and then I'll go to my physical sphere, and I might put, um, you know, long distance running, thinking about, hey, I want to start adding that into it. So for me, when I'm considering my five spheres, it's kind of a lot of times it's in the moment. It's what am I concerned about right now? Maybe I just finished a workout. I'm like, hey, I really feel, a little fatigued. So do I need to address like my eating? So I might, if I'm on recording my workout time, I might put in eating, and then I'll come back to it and I'll say, what was I thinking about that? Oh, that's right, I was feeling fatigued. So now what can I do to, find a better way to deal with that? So it's a constant, well, it's constantly evolving. The way I note take, I do have a little pad that I keep notes on. I can also be on my computer. I'll send myself an email. Oftentimes when I'm working, it's the easiest thing to do because I am on email. So I'll just shoot myself an email, Sabrina, and I might have 4 or 5 things going on, and I'll break it out into my spheres, and then
Okay,
okay, that's what I want. So
good. That's good
it,
to hear. I did,
it might not work for others, but it works for me.
of course. And just like mine, I use the app and I visualize things mentally.
Mhm.
In this book, My Five Spheres, to get children into the habit of thinking about their five spheres, there's like a little journal. Let me get to that page, and it's just a list.
Yeah. See, that's
You know,
perfect.
the five spheres in their different colors, and today I feel blank because blank, to start thinking that way. And it says because we want children to start to try to understand why they are feeling a certain way. Our daughter sometimes will just be sad and start crying, and we ask her why. Try to think about why. And sometimes she doesn't know, and that's okay. But just trying to get into the habit of
Right.
understanding why you feel some way, whether it's physically, financially, socially, educationally, or mentally.
And Sabrina, let me point out too. I think, and this is one thing that I love about the book. It's almost like you've now penned um, a the concept of a therapist in a book. So at the end of the book, for those who saw that, you've got all five spheres color coded with each character in the book. So it's very simple to use. But really, what you're doing, Sabrina, is very much the way a therapist or a psychologist who is working with a child would do, is just helping the child organize their thoughts. And that's really what we are so good at Five Spheres. It's just helping people to organize. Then they can evaluate, and we'll obviously show them different strategies on how to do that. But again, going back to the concept, it's all subjective. It's subjective to you and what you need. What I need, Sabrina, is not what you need, and it's not what anyone else needs. It's what I
Correct.
best version of myself. And that book is so great, I think, because it really does, it's almost like a therapist in a book, because it's teaching the kids how to do the very things that a psychologist therapist would do if they were seeing one. And so it's free therapy. And I just I hope that a lot of parents out there who might watch this can go find that book and utilize it, because it is an inexpensive way to solve a lot of problems, or at least put you on the track to solving problems, because you're going to organize, evaluate, and problem solve in the five spheres. And I think it's a wonderful strategy.
Thank you, Noel. I feel like we should end it on that. Any last thoughts?
I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season. Be safe out there. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself, and just enjoy. Smile and be
I
happy.
I agree. And if for some reason you do not feel happy, our last episode had resources on who to contact if you need professional help. So I just wanted to reiterate that, because the holidays can be tough for so many. But um, hopefully, hopefully everyone enjoyed this episode, got some good knowledge out of it, and happy holidays, everyone.